Since the end of colonialism, Africa has received vast sums of foreign aid. Trillions of dollars have poured into the continent to alleviate poverty and spur development. Yet, Africa remains trapped in a cycle of poverty and underdevelopment. Foreign aid has created a culture of dependency, fueled corruption, and undermined vital institutions. It has distorted local markets, discouraged investment, and hampered domestic industries. Aid has allowed governments to evade accountability, enriching a select few. This essay will explore how foreign aid perpetuates poverty and dependence. It will highlight the transformative power of entrepreneurship and innovation. Africa has the potential to overcome its challenges and achieve lasting prosperity. The time has come for Africa to break free from aid dependency and chart a new course. The narrative surrounding Africa's economic struggles often points to colonialism as the singular cause of its present-day poverty, while colonialism casts a long shadow. Attributing Africa's woes solely to its colonial past is simplistic. This overlooks internal factors, particularly policies and decisions made by African governments post-independence. Corruption has significantly contributed to Africa's economic stagnation. Rampant graft and a lack of transparency have crippled many African nations. Foreign aid often ends up in the hands of corrupt officials rather than those in need. Many African countries have implemented economic policies that hinder growth. State-led models and protectionist policies have stifled entrepreneurship and discouraged investment. While acknowledging colonialism's impact, this section provides a nuanced understanding of Africa's economic challenges. By moving beyond simplistic narratives, we can explore more effective solutions for Africa's economic struggles. To understand the true cost of foreign aid and economic mismanagement in Africa, it is instructive to compare its trajectory with that of another region that gained independence around the same time, the United States. While both regions emerged from colonial rule with the promise of a brighter future, their paths diverged dramatically in the ensuing decades. The United States, embracing principles of limited government, free markets, and individual liberty, experienced unprecedented economic growth and became a global superpower. In contrast, many African nations, burdened by foreign aid, corruption, and economic interventionism, struggled to achieve sustained development. The stark contrast between these two regions highlights the importance of sound economic policies and institutions in fostering prosperity. The United States' commitment to limited government allowed for the emergence of a vibrant private sector fueled by innovation, entrepreneurship, and a respect for property rights. This created an environment conducive to investment, job creation, and economic growth. In contrast, many African nations adopted policies that stifled private enterprise, discouraged investment, and perpetuated dependence on foreign aid. The experience of the United States demonstrates that the key to achieving sustained economic growth lies not in handouts, but in creating an environment where individuals and businesses can thrive. This requires a commitment to free markets, limited government intervention, and the rule of law. These principles, enshrined in the US Constitution, provided a solid foundation for economic prosperity, enabling the nation to overcome its early challenges and emerge as a global economic powerhouse. Africa, by embracing similar principles, can unlock its vast potential and chart a new course towards prosperity. Section 4. The Mechanics of Aid. A well-intentioned gesture with perverse consequences. Foreign aid, at its core, is a system of financial transfers from the governments of developed countries to the governments of developing countries. While often presented as a form of altruism, the mechanics of foreign aid create a complex web of relationships and incentives that often undermine its intended goals. This section delves into the intricate workings of foreign aid, exposing its inherent flaws and unintended consequences. One of the primary criticisms leveled against foreign aid is that it fosters a culture of dependency. By providing a constant stream of resources, often with little accountability or oversight, foreign aid can disincentivize recipient governments from implementing sound economic policies or mobilizing domestic resources. This dependence on external funding can lead to a vicious cycle where governments become more focused on securing aid flows than on addressing the underlying causes of poverty and underdevelopment. Furthermore, the fungibility of foreign aid poses a significant challenge. Fungibility refers to the ability of recipient governments to redirect aid funds away from their intended purposes. This means that aid earmarked for healthcare, for instance, could be diverted to fund the military or line the pockets of corrupt officials. The lack of transparency and accountability mechanisms within many recipient governments exacerbates this problem, making it difficult to track how aid funds are actually being used. Another unintended consequence of foreign aid is that it can distort local markets and undermine the private sector. The influx of subsidized goods and services, often provided through aid programs, can undercut local businesses and discourage private investment. This can hinder the development of a robust private sector, which is essential for sustainable economic growth. Moreover, foreign aid can create a culture of aid dependency within the population, discouraging entrepreneurship and innovation. Section 5. The Perils of Dependency: How Foreign Aid Enables Economic Plunder. One of the most pernicious effects of foreign aid is its role in enabling economic plunder by African governments. By providing a steady stream of external resources, foreign aid allows corrupt regimes to stay in power longer and extract wealth from their citizens with fewer consequences. This creates a perverse incentive structure where governments are rewarded for maintaining their dependence on aid rather than pursuing policies that promote self-sufficiency and economic growth. The influx of foreign aid creates a moral hazard, where governments are shielded from the consequences of their own economic mismanagement. With aid money flowing in, there is less pressure to implement reforms, tackle corruption, or invest in essential services for their citizens. This lack of accountability allows governments to operate with impunity, diverting resources to enrich themselves and their cronies, while neglecting the needs of the majority. Furthermore, foreign aid can be used as a tool to suppress dissent and maintain authoritarian rule. Governments can use aid money to fund their security forces, purchase weapons, and silence opposition voices. This creates a climate of fear and repression, making it difficult for citizens to hold their leaders accountable or demand better governance. The tragedy is that it is often the poorest and most vulnerable citizens who suffer the most from this aid-fueled plunder. They are denied access to essential services, deprived of economic opportunities, and trapped in a cycle of poverty and dependence. Meanwhile, the ruling elite and their cronies reap the benefits of foreign aid, perpetuating a system that benefits the few at the expense of the many. Section 6. The state's monopoly: understanding the nature of economic interventionism. To fully grasp the detrimental effects of foreign aid on Africa, it's crucial to understand the nature of state intervention in the economy. At its core, the state holds a monopoly on violence, law, and order within its borders. While this monopoly is essential for maintaining peace and security, it can be easily abused to serve the interests of the powerful at the expense of the powerless. When the state overreaches its mandate and interferes excessively in the economy, it creates distortions that hinder growth and perpetuate poverty. Economic interventionism manifests in various forms, from price controls and subsidies to nationalization and protectionist trade policies. While often presented as solutions to market failures or as a means to promote social welfare, these interventions often have unintended consequences that worsen the very problems they aim to solve. Price controls, for instance, can lead to shortages, black markets, and a decline in the quality of goods and services. Subsidies can distort markets, create inefficiencies, and benefit special interest groups at the expense of taxpayers. Moreover, excessive state intervention creates an environment of uncertainty and unpredictability which discourages investment, both domestic and foreign. When businesses and individuals lack confidence in the rule of law, the sanctity of contracts, and the protection of property rights, they are less likely to invest, innovate, or take risks. This stifles entrepreneurship, hinders job creation, and ultimately hampers economic growth. The allure of state interventionism lies in its promise of quick fixes and easy solutions to complex economic problems. However, history has repeatedly shown that such interventions often do more harm than good. By distorting markets, discouraging investment, and undermining the private sector, state interventionism creates more problems than it solves, hindering rather than promoting economic development.